Hi, everyone. Welcome to Psychology and Spirituality, a Bridge to Better Life discussion. We come together every week, and those weekly episodes are here so that we can explore this beautiful intersection between spirituality and psychology. And of course, as a result, we come out capturing timeless wisdom containing both fields. What if aging isn't about decline, but about becoming more of who we truly are? Well, we're here together in a follow up to our last episode that talked about the gift of aging. And we're here to perhaps discuss and even uncover some labels around age limits and how that aging process will also limit our souls, and how spiritism teaches that no, the soul never grows old, right? And I just want to say um, that I'm really excited to be here to hear from Jussara, Korngold, and Dr. Anahy, Fonseca, those incredible individuals with such knowledge, to understand how can we explore and perhaps reclaim our purpose, our vitality at any age, or to reframe or see aging again as a gateway to spiritual expansion, and to stop, to free ourselves from all the cultural programming and internalized ageism. Anyways, thank you for being here, Dr. Nayi, Jussara. How are you doing?
Hello,
I'm
everyone.
doing great. Sorry, just
No, no,
go ahead, go ahead.
we are always very polite. Who is going to come first? Hey, that's wonderful to be here again with you. And so I'm looking forward to our conversation today because the topic is a very rich one, and there's so much for us to explore when we are talking about, becoming of age. It's inevitable. It was going to happen to anyone, right? Or to everyone. So,
Yes.
yeah, hello.
Thank you,
And
Jussara.
hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you guys again and talking about this great topic, right? Yes, and we are aging right now, right? So let's dive into it.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to say that the overarching topic, of course, is aging, or the fear of aging that is hitting so many of us. But before we talk about it, I was hoping that maybe you, Giuseppe, can talk about the concept of metanoia, and metanoia historically or spiritually or psychologically speaking. What is it? Can you define it? Can you introduce us in the importance of this concept as we are talking about aging?
And he's right, Marcia. That was something that was introduced in our last conversation by Anahy, Dr. Anahy. And we thought that it would be nice for us to keep on talking about it. Metanoia, which is, in its etymology, it means meta means after, beyond, and noia meaning mind. So like a reconsideration, reorientation of thought, and when we think about it, it's a Greek word, and we wanted to know how the Greeks used it. What did they think about it? And of course, like every word and every concept, we are always expanding, right?
Mhm.
There are always more things that can come from that, and this is a very rich word, in the sense that even when we think about Socrates, when he said know thyself, the know thyself means, going after the mind the way you are thinking now, reconsidering yourself, and viewing yourself in a different way. The same thing we can see in Plato when he talks about the allegory of the cave, when
Yeah.
people are bound in a cave, and then they only see the shadows, but then one of them can liberate it oneself and comes back and say there is more to it. So it's again a concept of going beyond that. But I mean, everything that we find in terms of this word in ancient times, and even Sophocles, it's very beautiful. Sophocles, Antigone, when he talks about King Creon,
Yeah.
he lost everything in the Persian Wars, right? And then he lost his son, he lost his wife, and then he says, "Always lost. I have been rash and foolish." So I mean, and then we will say, or we will think, there is no time for him to reconsider because now it's too late. He lost everything. But
Mhm.
from the spiritual perspective, we will
Yeah.
see that there is always renewal. There is no death. There is always continuation, and to come to this realization is actually the purpose of metanoia. So going through a crisis, going to a difficult time will many times push
Mhm.
us into a
Mhm.
direction that we've been avoiding because you are in your comfort zone. You don't want to venture that much. It's okay. I know to deal with things as things are at the moment, but this is the reason of living. It's always to bring new things, to know yourself better, to look at yourself in a different perspective, and to go in adventures, but adventures of the soul. And
Yeah.
this is what we can see in terms of metanoia. But of course, when Jung came, he brought, he kicked the door. Right? It's not
You were just playing with this concept. Let me open the door to the meaning, right, Jussara?
exactly. He said, "Oh my God, this is something." And then is when I want Anahy to talk about it because
Yeah.
Jung gives her field of expertise. But it's so beautiful when we go through that and we see that from ancient times the concept is the same. It is there. The truth is there, and then we've been wasting time.
Yeah, that's a very good point, right? The knowledge and awareness of metanoia is has been there more than 2000 years ago, right? And yet we are just now perhaps getting ready to really understand and internalizing it. So Anahy, what are your thoughts? Can you tell us a little bit about how did Jung kick the door open to the concept of metanoia to us?
Yes, well, the thing is that we have to remember that Jung says that we are part of nature. The psyche is part of nature, right? And if we understand nature in its wisdom, so we are part of nature, we go through successive cycles, right? We have day and night. We have the different seasons. For instance, you guys are in the summer. I'm here freezing in the winter, right? But all
Yes.
of us in
Yeah.
different parts of the globe go through different
Uh-huh.
seasons, and our psychological development also goes through different cycles. So, like
Yes.
childhood, adolescence, maturity, old age, right? So Jung realized that, and he was, of course, kicking the door, as Jussara said, not only about the ego, that the ego is very much in the chronological time.
Mhm.
The Jussara was talking about the history of the world, let's say the theology of the word metanoia, and of course, if we understand that the gods remember the time, chronos and kairos. So chronos is the chronological time, the time of the watch, right? And the
Yeah.
time that the ego is pretty much in. For instance, we are kind of worried here in a sense about the time that we have to talk and talk to the people, because we have a limit time that of the podcast. But at the same time, we kind of get caught with the pleasure of being here and talking about spirituality and psychology. And then this second time that can last forever, like, like 40 or 50 minutes. It's like a century here. No, I'm just joking. But emotionally and spiritually, yes, we can learn so much with each other. We can exchange ideas. We exchange vibrations with the people that are listening to us. It doesn't matter if in different times and space,
Yeah.
because then we are also, that's why Jussara said that Jung kicked the door, because he didn't stay only in the ego and its relation to the information that it's coming from outside in the time and the space, and from inside, from the body and all of that. But it's like, since he dive into much deeper in the psyche and uncovers the reality of the self, or our higher self, right, we could say,
Mm-hmm.
so that we have a higher consciousness in the psyche, and that this higher consciousness is responsible for all the psychic development, like in
Mm-hmm.
dreams, experiences, integrating everything. So of course, if we go through different cycles,
Mm-hmm.
it will be like, if I'm changing cycles, let's say, and especially after middle age. We
Mm-hmm.
are talking about the gift of aging, right? And it's a gift, because then when I get to middle age and after, until middle age, we are pretty much in the myth of the hero and
Mm-hmm.
the development of the ego, adaptation to life. And then we have the development of the persona, our social mask, let's say, right? Because the ego wants to adapt to this reality, to the
Mm-hmm.
people around, has to develop security, moral is in the second, moral less in the second part, but emotional and material
Mm-hmm.
autonomy, all of that's the task of the ego. But then we go to different cycle after middle age, and then we have, like Jung says, like a disintegration of the ego, let's say, because
And it's
then the
scary, right?
it's kind
Anahy?
of
But
scary.
it's,
Well, let's not
yeah,
get psychotic. No, it's
yeah,
not about
yeah.
that, but it's about this changing that Jussara said, this transformation, right, Jussara? And this changing, like the Greek philosophers realized, because we know that from spiritist knowledge, they were talking about the soul,
Yeah.
like 600, 500 years before Christ, Plato's and Socrates and all of that. So what happens is that, yes, there is a kind of a disintegration of the ego's previous structure, the
Yeah.
way that the ego was functioning, because it's a changing in a phase, let's say, right? That the ego was pretty much in control of the psyche, and then it has to understand that there is a higher consciousness. Joanna talks a lot about like awakening of our consciousness, and awakening of the self, Jung self, of our higher self. So
Mm-hmm.
there is a calling, and it's inner calling in the
Mm-hmm.
psyche. So we are changing seasons, let's say, and we are going to another phase of development in our personality also, right? And yes, it can bring like anxiety, depression, things like that, especially if the ego kind of say, I'm not listening, I don't want to listen to this calling. It's like in denial. And Jonah says this is very important for us to pay attention, because since we are in a society that we kind of left a time where, especially up until the 20th century, I think, historically speaking, we
Mhm.
pretty much previously, we were pretty much like in developing, our subjectivity, we could say. Arts, we had the arts, music, the great composers, right? Mozart and all of
Mhm.
those beautiful composers, and that we have studies from the brain that says that's the higher frequency that music, for instance, the classicals, bring to the brain. So that's not my personal choice, but it is what medicine and neurology says, that the kind of music that really helps the brain to calm down and to vibrate in frequencies that bring peace and mental health.
Mhm.
And so we had all that development previously
As a human
as
race, right? All of
human
this
race.
has got us to where we are now. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
and then suddenly, after the 20th century, let's say, you were talking, Marcia, with all this, we were talking previously here, right, about all this technology, all this information coming that we, yeah, almost don't have time to reflect upon, right? And to get a book, for instance, read that book and reflect upon what it's there, make relations. No, we are bombarded with, we could say, with information from all over the place. So what happens is that we are in much more, we could say that we were previously much more to feelings. We had the beautiful poets and all that, philosophers. And then nowadays we are pretty much in sensation and the pleasure and the material pleasure. Jonah talks
Hmm.
about that when she talks about getting old and all the prejudice that it's connected nowadays. So previously, people knew that they could die in any time of the life cycle, right?
Yeah.
Because we had epidemics and medicine was not so good, so people wouldn't die young from infections, things like
Yeah.
that. Remember antibiotics? I think they
Yeah.
appear only after the Second World War, right? Like
It's
penicillin and things.
incredible. It's really incredible to see because
Sorry.
I think if you don't mind, just to emphasize here, right, the idea that as a society we're living longer, but it has not been too long that we acquire this ability to live longer and longer due to medicine and vaccinations, et cetera, et cetera. But now we are like, oh, but I'm aging, and that means I'm going to die, which is back to the central topic. Why are we so afraid of dying, right? And I don't know. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, but it's exactly that. I was,
Yeah,
just thinking about this. Why Jung says that we kind of the ego, the
yeah,
previous structure of the ego has to disintegrate in a certain way, because we are living one stage of life, and supposedly we have more wisdom and more experiences.
yeah,
We developed values, getting old with this gift of aging. So what happens is that in the past, the elders, and I would love to hear Jussara about that,
yeah,
the elders, right, were valued, because they brought with them they guard, let's say, the values. They brought the experiences of the society, the community. So they would give advice. Joanna always talks about that, right? That we can always give advice when we are getting old, because we have had a lot of experiences. So if we can integrate, they can exist, because I can say that I'm older, right? And that I'm kind of an elder, let's say, then I can, like in the past, even testify to daily life to say, oh, in the past, this happened like that. It's not that this will have to happen like that all, forever. But if we know our past, if we know our mistakes, for instance, right? But who's going to tell that the past was in the past was like this or that, so that the next generation can, can evaluate, can balance things, can
Yeah.
uh, bring the modern and compare to the old, and sometimes say, well, this modernity, let's say, it's not that good because the elders said this and that, and it functioned better in the past, for instance, for some aspect of life, or the other way around.
Yeah.
Well, that was not good in the past, and the elders told us that the development of that was this and that, but now we have this way of, so wow, that's cool, we can change that. So, and I remember, just that I also want to hear more about that, that Chico Xavier said that we needed this balance. I think he said in that program here in Brazilian TV that is called Pinga Fogo, that I don't know, Marcia, maybe you can translate, that when somebody, that was in 1970s something,
Yeah.
that when somebody asked them, because it was the hippie movement,
Yeah.
and somebody asked Chico Xavier about the hippie movie and what he thought about that. And he was very diplomatic, but also, of course, very spiritually connected. And he said, both youngsters and elders are necessary for this balance of life, because young people bring creativity and all this energy, and the elders bring experience and wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think for now it's okay, but I would love to hear you guys about that.
I think
Joe,
we
can you add? Yeah, go ahead.
all right. We've been competing with each other for too long, the young and the elders, because we all pretend we know better. The youngers that think the old way should not continue anymore, and yeah, of course, and the elderly that will say, no, this is the best way, or I know things. And one thing that we have to think, that we are never going to build anything if we keep on destroying what came before, right? I mean, we add bricks. We don't go there and put all the bricks down. Even if one of them perhaps was kind of uneven, you go there, you fix it, but you keep on building. And,
Yeah.
and I think when we are talking about metanoia from this perspective of Jungian Jung perspective,
Mm.
he says that it's like the psyche's natural attempt to heal itself, disintegrating the ego's previous structure. This can come as a depression, anxiety, psychotic-like states, but rather than pathology, they are viewed as a necessary breakdown for breakthrough. So
Beautiful. Yeah.
wonderful, because then we think about the middle life crisis,
Yeah.
right? Middle life crisis is going to lead you to this anxiety, to this depression. I don't want it to get there, like you said before, Marcia. Before, that was not a problem. We would die so young,
Yes.
and that was a natural thing, and we would never know when it was going to happen. Now we are following the decay of the human body, and certain parts of our body that were not even supposed to last that longer. I remember once I went to an was just here, ophthalmo here in New York.
Mm.
And by the way, he treated John Lennon. And he told me that our eyes were made to last 50 years. So that there has to be renewal in this whole system. So of course, he was the expert. I accept that, but I think this period of the middle crisis, when we get into this crisis,
Yeah.
if we hadn't if we didn't take the chance before to learn to go through this breakdown to breakthrough, to get more in touch with our inner self, the know thyself, it's inevitably going to happen, because it doesn't matter how much we go to the gym or diet or plastic surgeon, the cells of our body, there's going to be a natural decay. And we have, even if I have my beautiful plastic surgery face, people, I'm still going to be an elderly person, and I still have to go, I'm one step closer to that.
Yeah.
So when we think about the spiritist perspective, even the way that Allan Kardec put it in the Spirits book, right?
Yeah.
By first revealing to us, in the second part of the book, revealing to us the world of the spirits. So already saying, listen, there is life after death. And then it comes with, the aim of reincarnation and your purpose, the purpose of the spirit here, and then the spirit, and then the discarnation, and then reincarnation again. So that there is this cycle, and a natural cycle where in every phase of our lives we should be learning and we should be collaborating with each other. I think what makes it very difficult is that the elders take the young for granted and vice versa. And then is when we don't have a common place, and this way of thinking has to change. And how does it change? It changes when we accomplish this kind of inner reflection, when we start going beyond the prejudices, and really looking at the people. I remember when I was young, and I'm still so sorry I couldn't do that in this lifetime. Maybe it was not supposed to, but I was very young and I had a dream. There was one thing that I wanted to do in life that I didn't do, which was to open an orphanage together with an elderly house. And I mean, this is decades ago. There was none of those kind of organizations in the world. And I could visualize, the bond, the family, the elderly that are, forgotten in society by their families and etc., thinking they have no value, and the orphans that do not have emotional contact, and how much one could benefit from other, gathering from experience, but at the same time, naturally they would match. There will be an elderly that will be, more, let's say, taken by one of the orphans, one or the other, and that would take under their wings and all that. And so I thought, bring emotion, bring this respect and understanding how much we need one another. Well, today I'm happy to know that there are some of those organizations in the world that some other people thought about it and managed to do it. But this is what we are talking about here. We don't need to go through this crisis to wait for this metanoia crisis in Middle Ages. We should be taking every possible way that we are receiving from the experiences we are living to do, to renew ourselves and to see the real purpose of us here. And that is, finding out about the spirit, finding out about who you are, and that you're not going to perish, and regardless of
Yeah.
physical body, I mean, you're going to get a new one. And you know what? You can even choose. The
Yeah,
more you evolve, the more you can choose how you're going to be in your next incarnation. So that's a good
absolutely.
thing, right?
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what we need to hear, Jussara, because those spiritual teachings and spiritual perspectives found in Spiritism really start to help us reframe the experience of growing older, right? Just completely reframe and also help us perhaps overcome unconscious or not, societal biases in internalized ageism that we all have, right? It's there, and we quote unquote drink from the same Kool-Aid, and not only we have those biases toward others, but now that we are all at some point get to face our own aging biological frame, right? And now, how do I feel about this? How do I reconcile with that? And maybe one of you can talk perhaps about um, what practices can we identify that could support that the meaningful or joyful life after middle age. And I love what you said, Anahy, the before, the during, the after, right? And it's after that we have this breaking down to break through. I love it, right? So what can we do to maybe all of us here present here in this live understand that those are the things that we can do to really help us reconcile with our own biases as well as societal prejudices.
Yeah, I think there's something very important that we have to pay attention, and it
Hmm.
has to do with what Jussara was saying,
Yeah,
because Joanna asks us to, when she talks about the concept is always there of this self-discovery process that she's
yeah.
proposing to all of us, right?
Mhm.
And the way that we go so deeper in this self-discovery process is only possible after middle age, usually,
Mhm.
because it's not for everyone, but for most of the people, as I said in the beginning, the middle of until middle age, the ego is there trying to adapt and adjust to this world. So it has its tasks, let's say. It has to acquire some maturity, right?
Mhm.
But so Joanna also talks about moral and psychological then renewal that happens after this crisis, let's say, of metanoia. But and thinking about what Joanna said and what you asked, Marcia, I think that it's very important to realize that uh, aging can be a gift, as in the
Yeah,
title of our
yeah,
podcast,
yeah.
or an adventure, let's say, and or the person can feel as a misfortune, because there are two different positions, let's say, that we can deal with aging, right? We can integrate our experiences and our memories, for
Mhm.
instance, and develop, as in the past, inner life,
Yeah.
psychological life, inner life, and feelings, right? And also confront them with the passage of time that everything that we have experienced. So then we are going towards wisdom, not only knowledge, but
Mhm.
wisdom, right? And also we can think that we can laugh as we were doing
Mhm.
at ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We can even realize, oh, how silly I have been because I was paying such attention to this and that. And now I understand that it's not important, or that's not what life is about, things like that. And we can also free ourselves from a lot of conventions and concepts, preconcepts, and prejudice and things like that.
Yeah.
Because our attention goes to the inner world if we are doing this choice,
Mhm.
and not so much as previously to the outside world, as you know, the construction of the persona by the ego when we are young, because we want everybody to like us.
Yeah.
We want to feel, oh, that everybody loves me and I'm accepted and I will have success in life and all of that. That's in the beginning until the middle age. But the other choice
Mhm.
is, for instance, we can regret the time that has passed. For instance, when Jussara was saying, oh, I wish I could have done, that was a dream that I had, she was smiling.
Yeah.
She understood
Yeah.
that it, I'm not interpreting you, Jussara. I'm just saying that I saw in your face that you were okay, you were smiling, you were not
And it comes
regretting.
with wisdom, right? And I Jusara,
With wisdom.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's the loss of a dream, right? And maybe we could have said akin to the loss of a loved one, a loss of a job, a loss of a house, going to whatever it is, the loss in your case was a dream that you had when you're quite young, a beautiful dream, by the way. But when you realize, no, not going to happen, but can you imagine all that you learned from holding on to the dream that is now giving the wisdom to recognize the beauty of institutions, say, that are doing exactly what once upon a time you thought you'd be able to build on.
You see,
And
I
yeah,
you know, um, we go through life fearing the next stage,
yeah,
right? When you are a kid, right, going to preschool, then it comes the point that you're going to elementary school, and
yeah,
now I have to have a different, look at life, at myself, and then you go to high school,
yeah.
and then you graduate and go to college, and I mean go from um, uh, childhood to teenager years to adulthood in its
Mhm,
various phases, because
mhm,
it's more than just one phase in adulthood. And then when we come to become middle age, it's the same thing, because it is new to us. We will have
mhm.
new challenges, but at the same time, as Anahy was saying, we will have more discernment. Once I heard years ago in one spiritist congress that we had in Miami, one of the speakers, he said that from the spiritist perspective, life starts at 50. I was much younger at the time, and I thought, oh my God,
Mhm.
I don't know if I could quite grasp what he was telling, but from the way he was telling it, and it was something that I kept in my mind, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what he was trying to convey was, there are certain experiences in life that you can only savor when you are more mature, right? And this is it comes with discernment, it comes with acceptance, it comes with the growth of relationships, it comes with the understanding of your environment, work
Mhm.
environment, family environment, and even how you are now emotionally structured to deal with the good things without corrupting yourself,
Mhm.
and the bad things without you know, falling to the ground, uh,
Yeah.
because now you have a different perspective of life. So
Yeah.
now that I passed 50, I understand what he's saying in terms of certain experience and how we can grow more from them. Because if they were to happen in my early stages, either I wouldn't be able to be dealing with them, or I
Mhm.
would have lost uh,
Yeah.
all the wisdom and experience that they could have brought to me.
Yeah.
So, I think, and when we were saying, what can we do in practical terms? I think it's, love who you are,
Yes.
love every phase that you find yourself, and I mean, stop thinking and judging yourself by others, or how others are thinking about that. I mean, we are living in a society now that we were talking about ancestors and how so much of the history is lost. I mean, people do not want to hear yesterday's news, because there are so many news today. So we are in a very fluid society, but we are losing content. We are losing
Oh,
our roots. And this is important, because it comes to a point where, unless we are solid, grounded to the, to the earth in a certain way, we're not going to be able to stand. So
yeah.
love your roots, your culture, who you are, what you are right now, and see
Mhm.
it as an adventure.
Yeah.
There were good things. I mean, come on, you go through teenager years, you have to think about, if you're a girl, go through your menses. If
Yes.
you're a boy, and I mean, and the pimples, and
Yes.
the eczema and all those things, we go through so many things, right? And we just put them behind, and years after, they're gone. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing here now. I mean, there will be some decay. I can
Yeah.
testify to that. uh, but yeah, I think we just have to be happy that we are living, that we are having more opportunity to be here, to to make a mark in this world, and
Yes.
to take advantage of all the learning that we can gather. I can only imagine, if I had died 30 years ago, I wouldn't have known anything about internet and all those things that we are doing. I mean, I feel so happy that I still can be here, and I'm
Yes.
preparing myself for the future, everything that is going to come.
And
So,
and still learning, right, Jussara? We're still adding to the learnings of your spirit.
mhm.
I wanted to hear from Anahy, but wanted to perhaps, before I give back for maybe your final thoughts on the topic, Anahy. But what we see here is aging does not mean a decline, right? It can be a decline of some biological functions. You mentioned your eye, your ophthalmologist talking about human eyes were not meant to survive after 50 years of age, right? But there are some biological, organic decline, but age from a spirit as well as a psychological perspective, it's actually the time of refinement. It is almost a polishing of the soul. And you find that from the teachings of Joanna de Angelis, right? Where she brings the idea of that's the time where we are really open and ready to expand our consciousness, and the sacred, this is her words, the sacred return to the self. And we could think about it as the body starts to calm down, to quiet, and allow the spirit to find its voice, if you will. I love the lessons that Jonah De Andrews brings to us about aging, and I wanted to hear maybe Anna, if you had any final thoughts before we start concluding our time together today.
Yes, just two things, I think. Remember that Joanna says that aging is an art and science,
Yeah.
right, together. So we are talking about that, the gift of aging. So to have this wisdom, developed wisdom, realize that we are free, like Jussara said, to choose. And I
Mhm.
was talking about, choose being a wisdom lady or gentleman,
Yeah.
to have this wisdom, and to be able to testify to the past, saying, yes, I have lived that,
Mhm.
and I can tell you this and that to help the other generation that it's coming, to the youngsters and all of that. Or we can choose to because we are not able to face our shadows, and Joanna talks about that, self-discover, and also Jung, when we
Mhm.
pay attention to our psyche, self-discover. So when we turn our attention to ourselves, to our inner world, one of the first characters that we are going to face is our shadow aspects, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this is so, so important, because just to remember everyone that the shadow is opposite to the persona. So the shadow are aspects that I have to deal with that are not so cool, and that
Mhm.
people are not say, "Oh, you are this and that, you are great." No, I don't feel great. That's the first reason why this content was repressed by the ego and
Mhm.
went to my shadow part of the psyche, right? So all the repressed guilt, fears, and other feelings like that have to be dealt with if we want wisdom to develop. Because
Mhm.
if, as Jung said, if I don't deal with my inner enemy, then I will keep on projecting enemies outside of myself, right? And I keep on with the denial of everything that I am and that I'm supposed to be. That's the process of individuation that Jung talks about. To be this very original, very specific individual with all the experiences that I have lived, all the
Mhm.
wisdom that my spirit has achieved, and be able to be whole here in the world in this time, right? Develop my personality to be whole. Then I'm making a difference in the collective. Unfortunately, what we see still to this day is that a lot of people caught in the
Mhm.
appearance, in the persona, in the word of what the outside world is going to say about me. And unfortunately, the social medias have a lot to do with that at
Mhm.
up to this time. But I think we
Mhm.
are developing a higher consciousness, and we are going to change this. But until this moment, it's going on pretty much like that, and we have to pay attention to our inner world, right? So I would say, let's remember what Joanna said. It's aging is art and science, reflecting upon every our experiences, just as we have done today, together with everybody that is listening to this podcast. And of course, if we do that, the choice is not going to be grumpy old people, but happy, laughing at ourselves, and having this freedom and
Yeah.
this energy that it's not from the body, but it's from the soul. I
Right.
think the world
Beautiful.
needs a lot of that.
Yes, absolutely. So, just to recap a little bit, is aging or reaching the so-called old age is almost like a rite of passage, right? And what we mean by that is at that point that you start to see the dismantling of your ego illusions, and you start to really being able to expand your consciousness and confront and even admire yourself. I love that we are able to hit or find almost a sacred time to reconcile with ourselves, to attain inner peace and really to deepen, spiritually speaking, what we need to be. So I love it. I love that we get to age, right? The technology has allowed us during this timeline, our incarnations now, to be able to grow older and to get all that beauty that life has bestowed upon us, right? To unveil all the deeper truths, to embrace the missions that perhaps were hidden behind the impulses of youth or the egoic constructs, the illusions of the ego to be able to uh, attend the demands of the world. But with that, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you. Let us all age gracefully. Let us align with the eternal and find perhaps simplicity in just being. Thank you. Thank you so much. And for all of you, if this is the first time you've been to our program, note that we meet weekly. This is our podcast based on the works by Joanna De Angelis. And we love that we get, or I love that we get to be here to kind of expand our spirituality concepts by juxtaposing them with this psychological lens. Thank you so much, Jussara. Thank you, Anahy. Thank you, sponsors. This program is sponsored by Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AMI Brazil, the Brazilian arm of the Medical Spiritist Association. We'll be back next week, and until then, thank you so much, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.